Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. For those who are new, my name is Victoria and I'm a writer and a professionally trained perfumer. And here I share my tips and techniques that I've collected over 15 plus years of working in the perfume industry. And I hope that by watching these videos, you become not only a smart fragrance consumer, but also learn to use your sense of smell to its fullest potential. So let's get started. Today's topic is Rose de Mai, Rose centifolia. It's one of the two roses used in perfumery, the other being Rose damascena, and two primary roses, I should say, because there are other varieties. But Rose centifolia and Rose damascena really make up the bulk of natural rose essences that are available to perfumers. And Rose de Mai, May rose, is so called because its season, its harvest, falls onto May. And it's associated with the south of France, with the town of Grasse, where growing roses used to be a big industry. Grasse still retains its kind of reputation for May roses and other aromatics, because the valley where the town is located and the plantations are located are uniquely suited for growing plants like lavender and jasmine, rose, tuberose, etc. But these days, due to climate change and also the high labor costs in Europe, natural essences like rose are much more likely to come from Asia, from North Africa, and from other countries. But one year I participated in the harvest, rose harvest in Grasse, and I found that experience absolutely incredible, and it made me understand why a May rose is so revered and still so loved in Grasse that it's really just this kind of the hallmark of the city, one of its distinguishing features. It's a small flower. When you look at it, you just don't expect that its scent is going to be so incredibly rich and lingering and persistent. And it smells of honey and citrus with hint of salt and almost like Mediterranean herbs. And in comparison to Rose damascena, it's brighter, fresher, and has its kind of a metallic aspect, which is really intriguing. This plant or this essence is associated with Chanel number 5, and Chanel has a long-standing association with the Mule family, from whom it sources its roses, and of course the other fragrances use Rose de Mai for, because it's so versatile, and it can be used in masculine, feminine fragrances, and fragrances in different families and different styles. It takes 60,000 roses to produce 1 ounce of Rose Absolute, and Rose centifolia does not contain as much oil as Rose damascena, so which is why it's usually processed into Absolute rather than hydrodistilled essential oil. And this makes the price quite high, and because Absolutes require a long process from petal to essence, it just takes quite a few steps. So the petals are first washed with hexane, organic solvent, and then they're vacuum distilled, and then the solvent is removed, and what results is called concrète, and it looks like solidified honey. It has absolutely wonderful scent, but the process is only finished midway, because then concrète has to be treated further to remove the plant waxes and to chill it, to filter it, and then distill again. And then you have a Rose Absolute. The scent is rich, it's really multifaceted and complex. So on the one hand, you have this characteristic honeyed fruity aspect of the rose, but on the other hand, you have the, as I mentioned, the metallic and citrusy, bright, fresh components. So last week I talked about matière noble, ingredients that have this kind of distinguishing characteristic of being very special and precious and very expensive. And Rose de Mai is definitely one of those materials, and it's definitely the case that once it's used in the composition, marketing materials will mention its presence in some way. And Rose de Mai can come from France, but of course many other countries, rose growing countries, produce it, including India and Morocco and Bulgaria, but the production is still much smaller in comparison to Rose Damascena. So what are the fragrances that use Rose de Mai? One of my favorites is quite a simple fragrance, but it's such a beautifully done rose. It's Diptyque Eau Rose, and it smells almost like rose water. You know, this fresh, simple, just fresh roses, blooming roses with a green twist. It's really quite lovely. Then there is a fragrance from Annick Goutal called Rose Splendide. It's also rose unadorned with just fruity accents to really light up the heart of the composition, and also citrusy bright notes to really give it luminosity and give it that sparkle right from the top. It's really quite appealing. Rose de Mai can be used in different fragrances, and for instance, one fragrance you wouldn't associate with this ingredient is Houbigant Fougère Royale. And I'm talking about the reissue that was relaunched in 2010. So it's of course fougère, so it means it has the combination of aromatic notes, bergamot, lavender, patchouli, musk, and moss. And rose is a presence to really brighten things up and also to soften the effect. So it's the result is quite layered. Then you have another fragrance, which is an interesting use of rose, is Etat Libre d'Orange, Fils de Dieu. And the rose is used as part of a larger accord, and there's also a rice note, which is meant to mimic the scent of jasmine rice. And the combination is really so compelling. It's toasty, creamy, and also floral and woody. It's just try it. I find it almost difficult to describe it, but it's really quite a compelling, intriguing fragrance. I find it really well made. And another fragrance that you would associate with roses is Guerlain Mitsouko. But Mitsouko uses rose, again, part of the accord. It's not the star player in the composition, but without rose, the fragrance just wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't have that softness and the luminous effect. And because Rose de Mai, as opposed to Rose Damascena, it's not as sweet a floral note, so in Mitsouko it works really well as in other fragrances, especially in masculine fragrances or in certain citrus woody fragrances where sweetness is not welcome. The effect of a rose de Mai in fragrances can be quite subtle, but when it's used well, it creates almost a bridge from the top notes to the base, because it's a complex material with its own top notes, heart notes, and base notes. So it really creates this beautiful link between different components of a fragrance. So try the fragrances that I mentioned, see if you can pick out rose in it, and let me know. And also let me know if you enjoy rose fragrances and which rose fragrances you like. As always, thank you for watching and have a great day.